All right, testing, check 1, 2. Very hard for me to tell what is working here. All right. That looks good. That looks good. Hopefully the thumbnail. Now I also need to edit the name of the stream. All right. That should be working. I have no idea if the thumbnail is correct. I tried to change it and I don't think it changed. I wonder if there's a way for me to check that without my computer going crazy. That looks good. Cool. Everything looks okay. Hopefully it sounds okay. How is everybody doing out there? I had a bunch of technical issues today on a wide variety of issues, but I think I got everything running, and I'm only running a couple minutes behind schedule, so I'm not too disappointed about that. So if anybody is just popping in right now and they have not seen, I released a video about 20 minutes ago talking about the sample pack song challenge that I'm going to be running this month and potentially every month if people are into it. So if you want to try something like that out, if you want to just take a bunch of samples that I made and try making a song out of it, you got about 3.5, almost 4 weeks to work on a track and then send me that track back. And all that info is in the video that I previously mentioned I have just released on the channel. So it should be the one right before this video if you're taking a look at all the channels or all the videos on the channel. So I'm excited about that. That should be really fun. I think that'll be a really cool way to get the community to be doing lots of things together. And if you have any questions about it or you want more info about it, you can feel free to let me know in the chat or you can let me know in the Discord channel. I haven't done it yet because technical issues caused all my entire day to be kind of thrown off. But I'm going to make a channel in the Discord, and within that, it's going to have all the info about the sample pack stuff, and that way people can ask questions about it or share stuff while it's works in progress, any of that kind of thing. It's all going to be in there. So I'm trying to get the Discord more active, trying to do more things in there. And I think the sample pack song challenge would be really cool. The only thing that I really kind of need to figure out is I think I need a better name than sample pack song challenge. I think it sounds a little generic. It's pretty on the nose. It makes a lot of sense, but I think we can probably come up with a better name than just generically sample pack song challenge. So that's probably what I'll be messing around with. I'll probably take some of the samples that I made and start working with them. But this stream, generally my Tuesday streams are about just general music production stuff. So usually I'll hang out and be making music, just doing whatever, chatting with you guys. And if you guys have any questions in the chat, put it in there. So Roberto, the link should be below in this video. If not, the link is definitely in the description of every one of the videos I put up in the last at least month or so. So that's probably the best way to join Discord, is just look in the description, and I can probably double check here. Yeah, it should be at the bottom of the description for this. That should get you in there. Roberta, how you doing today? Afternoon, evening? So hey, Anton, how's it going? Welcome. Good to see you. It's good to have you guys here this evening. I'm doing great. I had a really weird technical issue for about 2 hours today where video just wouldn't play on my computer. It wouldn't play on Netflix. It wouldn't play on YouTube. It wouldn't play in QuickTime. It only played inside of Premiere, and that was the only place I could get video working. So I spent a while troubleshooting that, and I think it was a weird audio issue. I have lots of different audio routings that I switch back and forth between depending on whether I'm making music or making videos or just using my computer. And so I tweaked it, and I think it's all working now. Everything seems to be fixed, but that was not my favorite part of the day. But I made all the samples for the sample pack today, and that was a lot of fun. It's my first sample pack that I've made and like publicly released, not just with like friends. So if you guys have any feedback on the samples, some of them I really like and think are really cool. Some of them are a little kind of goofy and weird, but hopefully it's a good, well-rounded set of samples. They're very synth heavy because I used my modular synthesizer to make them. So I think next time I might go for more like organic samples, a little more like natural sounding samples. But it's very synth heavy this week or this month. Yeah, Roberto, glad you can make it. Seems like we got a pretty good turnout so far. And again, I don't know if you guys were here at the very beginning when I started talking. I just released a video on the channel about the sample pack challenge, which a lot of people have been requesting. So that is now live, and those songs are due at the end of the month. Doing an electric plus amp plus spectral resonator. 36 hertz. I really love electric and amp. That's a combo that I'm already a pretty big fan of. I think electric is like one of the secret weapons of live, especially if you want to do some like crazy bass stuff. But I've not tried combining the spectral resonator on with that, so I might try this out. Any particular settings on either of these? Yeah, let me just... So 36 hertz is gonna be like way down here. And then a little bit of a spectral resonator. The spectral resonator at 36 hertz, not just you're playing 36 hertz. That sounds cool. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. I love the granular setting. That's pretty cool. I like that quite a bit. Be cool if we could get some like, I wish there's a filter in electric. That kind of bumps me out. It sounds very like fixed frequency though, so even though if I'm like playing different notes, it's still kind of doing the same thing, which I don't necessarily mind, but I suppose you could pitch it with this guy. That'd be a cool like way to do like a little transition sound. Spectral resonator has like unlimited potential with what you can do with it. There's just like so many weird things that just like are totally off the wall and really, really interesting. To make sure my push is turned on. Oh. Yeah, that sounds great. I'm super into that for doing like weird bassline kind of stuff. What else can we do in here? We could play with the distortion. I'm not a big fan of what they've done to electric. It still sounds exactly the same as the way it did before, but now it looks, I don't like the look of it. I like that it's smaller and more compact, but I don't like that there's pages to it. One of the nice things about electric was that everything was like right up front, like you could see all of the controls simultaneously. Whereas now, like you can't see everything at the same time, which makes it to me a little bit harder to use. Yeah, there's a lot of potential here, I feel like. We turn up the unison a little bit. Sweet, yeah, that's a cool combo. I'll definitely have to play around with that a little bit more. Anybody who is just joining us, if you have any questions about music production with Ableton Live or just kind of in general, feel free to toss those in the chat. Yeah, I want this to have like a filter built into it. That would be super cool. Suppose you could like just put one before it. What's up, Jonathan? How you doing today? Welcome, welcome. Right now, I'm just kind of screwing around. Anton was recommending I combine electric with amp with special resonator. Which is a very cool combo. Kind of see what you can do if you toss a little filter here in the middle. Yeah, you can do a lot of cool stuff with this. Yeah, you can do some like dark house music, like weird, like almost kind of electro house intro kind of thing. Like a cyberpunk kind of sound. Nice the MIDI envelope to make things move around a little bit. Sounds like a cool idea. We got MIDI from somewhere else. I'm not gonna bother doing that. You get the wackiest sounds out of this thing. Like you don't even have to do any work, and it just like instantaneously makes you just crazy noises. What do you put the MIDI envelope on? Which parameters do you like to use for that? This, I feel like putting this on like the stretch could be kind of cool. This sounds awesome. More release though. Yeah, you get some crazy noises out of this. This is super fun. not go all the way to 100%. Like super subby note that kind of decays out of it. I put it on the volume of electric. Interesting. Let's put on our filter. Why is that not getting us? Oh, it's because the stretch turned all the way down. It's pretty sweet. Can I get MIDI from the same track? Can I do that? Oh yeah, that's great. I always have to check to see what the granular sounds like whenever I'm using it, just because it always sounds so cool. All right, we're going to have to do both the filter and stretch. It sounds like a weird cat. So if anybody is out there in the chat and is just another friendly reminder, if you got any questions or anything you want to talk about, just feel free to let me know. But right now, I'm just kind of screwing around, basically doing what Anton tells me to do and making some weird noises. Yeah, it definitely has like a weird engine sound. All right, it might be too crazy, but we'll see what happens if we also apply it to the pitch. Still doesn't sound too crazy. It just sounds a little crazy. All right, I think it's a little bit too much. Yeah, we're definitely getting lawnmower territory here. Like psychedelic lawnmower territory. All right, let's go ahead and map some of these guys. I think I'm trying to stretch back up. But like something like this with some like weird like echo on it could be really cool as like a nice little like, it's very like 80s sci-fi movie, like pseudo Blade Runner kind of thing. I don't know about you guys, but I've been watching a lot of like 80s horror movies recently. That's like never a genre I was into. And then recently I've just been watching like a bunch of like Cronenberg and just like weird sci-fi horror movies from the 80s, and they're amazing. They're so good, and the soundtracks are always not always, but they're usually really, really good. Really underappreciated uh, genre of film, in my opinion. But this is totally the kind of thing you have like some dudes wandering around like an abandoned warehouse searching for the alien creature or whatever. I actually like that quite a bit. That actually sounds really good. All right, well, what if we get the arpeggiator going? What's up, gentle air? Welcome. So I'm automating the filter frequency on the auto filter using the MIDI envelope, which is a Max for Live device that's just part of the core library in Live. So if you just go to your MIDI effects, there is the envelope MIDI, and it behaves kind of the way you would expect it to. If you know how the audio envelope works, it's basically the exact same thing. Yeah, so if you know what it is, then you got it. So I'm automating that, and then at previous points, a couple minutes ago, I was also using that to modulate a bunch of controls on the spectral resonator to do weird sounds. But right now, I'm just kind of screwing around, making some noises. So it sounds like I'm scoring an 80s film. I think it's not better without the arpeggiator. Yeah, Anton, sometimes you're like doing something and it sounds terrible, and you like just tweak a couple things, and all of a sudden it's really pretty. Yes, Gentle Air, I am indeed a certified trainer. I got certified back in 2016. My computer's given me some signals that the stream is acting up, but it looks like it's okay. Maybe a couple dropped frames, but hopefully I'm still there. Also, just to warn you guys, usually at least one point during my streams, my mic just dies for no reason. And so when that happens, just let me know in the chat, because I know how to fix it, but I don't know how to prevent it from happening. So I'm also going to turn the mic down a little bit. It looks like it's a little loud. So the process of getting certified is actually a really, really interesting, and I think Ableton does it in a really unique way. But basically, you have to wait until they do a certification event in whatever country you live in, and they do them kind of sporadically all around the world. So I had to wait till they did one in the US, which they'll post about on the Ableton website. If you scroll to the very bottom of the Ableton website, there's like a link that says like find certified training, and there's also a link that says become a certified trainer. So basically you have to like keep your eye on the become a certified trainer link constantly until they hold an event in your country. And so the first round is just it's a like basically like a cover letter and a resume, and I think an example of yourself teaching. So you have to basically just kind of like send them a bunch of info, just like you would with any other kind of job situation. And then if you pass that round, you have to do a phone interview, which is terrifying. And then if you pass the phone interview, you have to go to wherever they're doing a certification event. For me, I live in the US, so I had to go to the Ableton headquarters in LA, flew out there and did like a weekend long certification training that is top secret and I'm not allowed to tell you anything about, but I'm just letting you know that it was a fantastic experience. I loved it. It was very stressful. But if you pass all 3 rounds, then you become a certified trainer. And one of the best things I've ever done with my entire life. Do not regret it whatsoever. But that's kind of the process. And I think there's only like 300 or so certified trainers in the world. So they don't do the trainings a whole lot, and they don't do the certification events a whole lot. And they don't accept a lot of people per certification event. Yeah, Roberta, it's like pretty top secret. Like I really want to talk about it to people, but I'm not allowed to. Otherwise, they might revoke my certification. But it's super cool. Ableton's a great company. Everybody who works at Ableton is super cool, and they all love their jobs. And like the more I know people, I get to know people who work at the company, the more I realize that like they really understand not just the like software side of things and how to make a good product, but the company is run really well and they really care about their employees and they really like put a lot of effort into everything that they do. As far as what you need to know, I mean, you definitely need to know a lot about live. Here's the secret that I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to tell you is Ableton as a company really values community, and they want people who are already educators. So if you're already an educator, then great. That's definitely puts you like front of the line if you want to be certified. But if you're involved in like Ableton user groups, or you work with people, or you're involved in like school programs, or whatever, you're involved in the community and doing things, if you're like making tutorial videos on YouTube or whatever, that also is really, really helpful. So they want people who are not just really good at using the software, because there's a lot of people who are really good at using the software, but they also want people who are good at communicating and understand the importance of community. And those are definitely things that, at least from my perspective, that's what they look for. But yeah, if you're already an educator and you're already doing this kind of stuff, then that definitely helps out quite a bit. So a lot of software programs, they have like user certifications, like Pro Tools and Logic. You can get like level 1 certified, level 2 certified, and level 3 certified. Ableton doesn't do that. They only have the trainer certification, and they only give that to people who are like active in the community and are like, again, like training people and are going to use that as a way to like help other people. Anton, I don't know the exact numbers of people who are programmers at Live. It's a much smaller company than you probably realize. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, and these numbers are probably from a couple of years ago anyway. It was only like between 200 and 300 people work at the company total. That does not count certified trainers, because certified trainers don't work for Ableton. But that's like, marketing and programming and all that kind of stuff. So it's like only around like 200 or so people that work in the company, which means only a fraction of those are actually like programming and designing the software. But I could be totally wrong about that, and I apologize to Ableton if I got bad information about that. Yeah. Also, the certified trainer community is super, super cool. Every certified trainer I've met has been amazing, and I've met a bunch of them, and it's cool. If I like wanted to travel, I mean, like, COVID means I'm not traveling, but hopefully when I start traveling again, if I wanted to go to like New Orleans for like vacation, I could like call up the certified trainer from New Orleans and be like, hey, I'm gonna be in town. At the very least, we can at least like hang out and have somebody who like knows the local area. Or if they like is somebody who runs a user group or like is doing stuff there, I could go teach like a guest class there. Or it's a really tight community and it's really supportive, which is really, really awesome. Yeah, if you get the opportunity, take it. Another thing I would definitely want to point out about becoming a certified trainer is that if you apply once and you don't get it, don't stress about it. You can just wait till the next time and apply again. And almost everybody I know, the first time they apply, they don't get it. Like I didn't get it the first time I applied. I applied in like 2013 or 14, didn't get it, and then I applied again in 2016 and I got it. So there's a lot of competition in there, and it's worth doing even if it takes a couple of years. Roberto, who is in Toronto? I don't know off the top of my head. I can look it up. Is Vespers in Toronto? I don't know him personally, but I know his stuff. I know he's from Canada. I'm gonna check the website. And certified training. Anton, check their they have like a jobs page and they'll post stuff there for like accounting, they'll post it for marketing, they'll post it for like, web design, like all that kind of stuff. So keep an eye out there. Like I said, it's a super cool company to work for, and especially if you can work in Berlin, because Berlin is a really dope place to live. I really wish I could live in Berlin. Who's the trainers in Toronto? You got 4 of them up there. Now, I don't know any of the Toronto trainers, but I'm sure they're cool. It's interesting. It looks like they've expanded quite a bit, the number of trainers, it looks like. There's almost 350 now. Also, I mentioned the Ableton user groups earlier. If you are not involved in your local Ableton user group, get involved with it. Or if there's not an Ableton user group locally, just start one yourself. That's honestly, I think, one of the reasons I got I got past one of the, got through all 3 rounds of the certification, was that I was running monthly meetings at a user group. Let me check to see who's in Montreal. So I don't know all the trainers in Canada that well. I mostly know ones in the US. No, I don't know either one in Montreal. I feel like I should because I go up all the time. I'm based in Colorado, Gentle Air. So an Ableton user group is it's just like a meetup that people run. They're supported kind of tangentially by Ableton as a company. They won't pay you to do it or anything like that, but they will support you and help you promote it, or help you organize. And basically, they're all over the place. If you look on the Ableton website, there's a page for Ableton user groups, and they're always free. And it's a cool way to like connect with the community. And they're usually run by certified trainers, but not always. Sometimes it's just some local person that wants to run a user group. But if there's no user group locally, start one. It's a really great way to kind of build a relationship with Ableton as a company. And they'll send you free stuff. They'll give you like stickers and stuff so you can give them out to the people at the user group. And it's a bit of work, but it's super fun. And it's a great way to like get to know the local community and get involved. And even if there is already a user group, join it and go to the meetings. I mean, everybody's doing meetings online right now, which is everybody's kind of burnt out of. But it's definitely worth looking into. I'm super excited for when I can start doing user group meetings in person again, because I am tired of doing events on Zoom. Hey Tripathi, how's it going? Welcome. But yeah, user groups, super cool, really fun way to connect with the community and learn stuff about live. If you're somebody who is like me, who like I struggle to connect with people digitally, which is weird because that's basically all I do right now. Seeing people in person is to me is much easier, and I get to I can understand those social relationships a lot better. So doing things like in-person user group meetings are really helpful to kind of like get to know the people and like, find people to collaborate with, learn from each other. Super, super cool. Awesome, Roberto. Welcome to the Discord. I'm going to be doing a bunch of updating, or not a bunch, I'm going to be doing a little bit of updating to the Discord, hopefully later tonight. Anton, that is a fantastic question. I have struggled with writer's block on and off for many, many years. And I think I've got a lot of things I can rant about that. Give me 1 second. Tripathi, so I just released a video right before I streamed about doing a sample pack challenge, which a bunch of people have been asking for. So I made a bunch of samples. You can find the link in the video description of the video I just uploaded, where you can download those samples and you can make a song with them. You can add your own samples. You can record whatever you want and just make a song. So everybody's given the same like basic starting point. You can take it any direction you want. And then those are going to be due towards the end of the month, June 25th, during one of the song feedback streams. I'm going to go through all of the songs that people make using those samples. So that's kind of what I'm doing this month. And if it works out, I'm going to do it every month and just have different samples and things going on. All right, so Anton, so first off, I made a video a little while back where I had like 5 or 6 different ways to deal with, feeling less creative or writer's block. So I would check out that video. I talked a lot about like creative restrictions, like, giving yourself really harsh time limits. So you have like an hour to write a whole song. That's a great way just to kind of like get out of your head. I think a lot of times to me, writer's block comes from stress and pressure, like internal pressure and overthinking things. At least that's personally where I'm coming at it from. Or I tend to stress myself out more than anything else. So by putting like a 1 hour time limit on writing a song, it's like, cool, I sit down, I focus, I do the thing, I can't think about anything. It's just like go, 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 go. Because the more I think about it, the more I start to second guess myself, and then I start to doubt myself, and then it's like it becomes like a mental health spiral. So things like that can be really helpful. Collaborating with other people can be really, really helpful. So like if I start working a song and it sounds cool and then I get stuck, send it off to somebody else, or at least get some feedback from somebody else. And that's a great way to kind of like, they can approach it with fresh ears and figure out see what I'm missing basically. And then that's a great way to kind of get beyond that kind of stuff. Other things like, taking little breaks can be really useful. Like take care of your mental health, make sure you're sleeping enough, make sure you're eating right. Those kinds of things can like actually really affect your mental state, which can affect your ability to be creative. Yeah, you guys are all welcome to do the sample pack challenge. In fact, that's the whole point of the sample pack challenge, is that everybody can do it. I'm also looking for feedback on my samples. I've just made a bunch of weird samples, and this morning, pretty much entirely. So it's very synth heavy, but I think it'll be cool. I'm curious to see where you guys both get with it, but I hope it's got enough like diversity and interesting stuff going on with it. Anton, other things that kind of like help me with writer's block. Let me think about this. I think here's the one I say to everybody that asks me, and I think I also say this in the video. Removing yourself from the results. Yeah, the sample packs is linked not in the description for this video, but in the description for the other video that I literally uploaded like an hour ago, called Sample Pack Challenge number 1. But yeah, removing yourself from the results is really, really important. Like we live in this very like capitalist world where everything's about like how much money you make and how many followers you have, how many likes you got, all that kind of stuff. And so we're very results driven. And to me, art is very process oriented. So part of the benefit of making art is not just how much you sold the art for, how much money you made, or anything like that. It's like, how did you learn and grow along the way? So if you disconnect yourself from the result, it puts a lot of that pressure off at least until later on, until you actually release the song. And that way the act of creation is the benefit. It's like making the music is what you're actually trying to do. That's like the right way to phrase this. Yeah, just being creative is its own reward. And so if you approach it with that, then it, at least for me personally, it feels a lot less stressful. And then I can focus on like, I don't need to make a banger today. I don't need to make a gold record today. I just need to make something that's interesting, or I need to learn something along the way. Like if I make, 20 songs and one of them is good, I still learned something on all the other 19 songs that I made, even if I don't finish them, even if I don't release them. So focusing a lot on the process and being prolific is another one. I don't think I mentioned this in the video. Just make a shit ton of music and make a shit ton of terrible music and just get comfortable with like, oh yeah, I'm going to make some songs and I'm going to have some ugly babies and they're not going to be pretty and I'm never going to release them and nobody will ever hear them. But that's part of the process. I think what a lot of people don't realize is that, your favorite artists, the people who are just like cranking out amazing tracks day after day, they're still only releasing like 10 to 15, maybe 20% of what they write. There's another 80% of projects that they are just never finished, never see the light of day. They just weren't good enough. So just get comfortable with being prolific, like quantity over quality. And that's a great way to get through writer's block, because then you just start making stuff. And eventually, if you keep making stuff, you're going to make something that you're really excited about that's really cool, that you're going to finish and you're going to feel really proud about when you release. So those are just some of the things that I think help dealing with writer's block and not feeling creative. But I could definitely rant about that stuff for quite a while because I think it's actually really interesting. And I think that artists' mental health is not really something that's talked about a lot, especially in like mainstream music. I think that a lot of the kind of like lifestyle and projection, the image projection of a lot of like pop stars or hip hop artists or EDM DJs is somebody who's like amazingly creative and is just brilliant all the time, and that's just not true. It's a myth. If you want a really good depiction of like what the artistic process is like and what it feels like, is there's a comedian named Bo Burnham who just released a special on Netflix called Inside, where he filmed like it's technically a comedy special, but it's like him singing songs inside for the last year. And one of the most brutally honest, amazing pieces of art I've ever seen. It's funny, and I think it actually shows what it feels like to be an artist more than anything else. Yeah, Kevin, I feel that right now for me with a lot of the videos I'm making right now. Some of the videos I'm like, oh man, I'm super proud of this video and I think it's gonna be dope and everybody's gonna love it, and it gets like no plays. And then sometimes I'm like, this video is whatever. I made it in like an hour, and that one does really really well. So sometimes when you're just like creating stuff, you don't know what the response is going to be, and you never know like how people are going to respond to it. And sometimes it has nothing to do with the amount of love you put into it. It just is like, that's just what happens. Yeah, gently, I totally feel that. It's all about quantity. And if you just consistently are making music, eventually you're going to hit those spots where you're like, oh man, you get in a groove and it just flows and it happens and it feels great. Michael, welcome. How's it going? Yeah, being inside your head is one of the trickiest things about being an artist. There's another really good thing that I always recommend to people when you're talking about like art and creativity and what it all means. And there's a TED talk, and I honestly can't remember the woman who gave it, but she's talking about inspiration and how the word genius, like in the traditional sense, the word genius, when we think of genius, we think of like Albert Einstein or people who are just like cosmically smart, who are just brilliant all the time. And in the traditional sense of the word genius, genius was something that happened to you. Like the genius came to you and like inspired you, and then it left and goes on to somebody else. And so you're never always going to be a genius. You're never always going to feel inspired. You're never always going to be brilliant. You just need to be ready for when the genius comes, that you can interpret that inspiration and translate that and then utilize it, and then it leaves and goes on to somebody else. Yeah, Elizabeth Gilbert, that's Kevin's on it. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, when you make lots of stuff, you have more opportunities for that genius to come to you and, inspire you. Yeah, well, we got a lot of people here today. This is great. Yeah, sometimes sometimes you need to get outside and do other things. I definitely feel that. I save pretty much everything I do though, even if it's terrible, even if it's just like garbage and I'm never gonna touch it again. Sometimes I go back through those files and you find those hidden gems in those like weird projects that you never ever finish. Yeah, that's what it's all about. If you want to make it in the music industry, be patient. That's like what definitely the way to do it. I think we get overwhelmed and kind of inundated with these stories uh of like people who just blow up, like their career blows up out of nowhere and they're like all of a sudden they're headlining festivals. And again, that's also kind of a myth. Like that doesn't really happen. Like people who have an overnight success, that like takes like a decade worth of effort and trying before you get to the point where you can possibly have an overnight success. And oftentimes the people who do have those overnight successes really early, then they're not prepared for it, like both mentally and emotionally for what that success means. And that's why you get all these stories of like rock stars who have drug overdoses and like can't handle it. It's because they're like they weren't ready for it. It just happened too much too fast. So being patient is the way to do it. I see. I've got a file management system where I can kind of keep things organized in a pretty decent way. So every once in a while, I'll go back in and play around with some of the older projects and see if there's anything good in there. But I've kind of trained myself out of the habit of deleting old projects, just because space is so cheap now. It's like unless it's like taking up a huge, unless you recorded like a bunch of different takes of audio and then takes like a gig, in which case I will definitely delete it. Wait, so I think everybody who's in here has heard me mention it or has at least seen the title of the video. You guys wanted a sample pack challenge, and so I made a sample pack, and those are going to be due at the deadline is June 25th, so you got about 3 or 4 weeks to work on it. But I'm super stoked about that. Sweet. Well, so this is like talking about inspiration and this kind of stuff is super fun. So I'm glad you guys are into this. So Michael, WeTransfer is probably your best bet. It's just WeTransfer.com. And that's usually what myself and most other people I know in the music industry use for sharing bigger project files. It's easy. It's free. I think you can have file sizes of up to like 2 gigs. So if you like zip a file, it should be well under 2 gigs. You send it over to them. They click on a link. They download it, and then it gets deleted after like a week or something. And then you just go back and forth like that. So that's probably the best way to do it. It's a lot easier than doing like Dropbox or like a cloud kind of situation. So Tripathi, this is a really fantastic question. So can you hear a song and figure out which genre band in particular sound is in, and how do you train something like that? Is even such a skill useful? So understanding frequencies is extremely useful. really, really useful, especially when it comes to mixing. When you're producing, you can like make music and not necessarily understand like where all the frequency bands are and like how they all get put together. That's not as big of a deal. But for mixing and trying to like make sure your song is like nice and clean and clear, definitely super useful. Generally, it's not something I'll do like when I'm listening to a song so much, unless something is like really obviously too loud or too quiet. But there's a bunch of good resources out there for like just visual depictions. Let me see if I can find the musical instrument frequency chart. There's a bunch of these out here. So this is the one I really love, although sometimes it doesn't always work. Oh man, I hate Pinterest. So this guy right here, if you can find the good version of this, this is really useful because it lists a bunch of different instruments and what frequencies they live in primarily, which is really, really useful. I think there's a few ones here. Yeah, that's not as useful. It's all the same thing, just kind of laid out differently. But this is the one I love if I can find the version that works and not the Pinterest version. I think they might have took it down. Let's see if this works. Guess not. All right. Well, you kind of get the idea. Hopefully you can see it. I don't know if you can see it on the stream here. But this is really, really useful for just kind of learning roughly what kinds of sounds live where. And then as you're listening, you can kind of train yourself to kind of start to hear, okay, certain sounds are going to live down here, certain sounds are going to live over here. And that helps just kind of as a general understanding. The other thing you can do, and something I do quite a bit, especially when I'm teaching, is using either just an EQ8, which has a built-in spectrum analyzer, or using the spectrum analyzer audio effect. So I'm a very visual learner. It really helps me to see what's going on here. So let's list all of the frequencies, and you can get this little triangle and make it huge. Or basically 20 hertz is down here. So this is like the lowest range of human hearing. And 100 hertz, 1,000 hertz, 10,000 hertz, 20,000 hertz. So this is the like highest range of human hearing. So when I play a sound, we can see which frequency ranges that live in. So as you're working and as you're mixing, starting to listen to things and then have the visual representation so you can kind of understand roughly where each one of those sounds live, right? So I play a sound in here, very quiet, but this is going to be living in kind of like this area primarily. So I think that's the way you start training your ear, is playing things, using your ear, kind of figuring out, okay, is this a sub frequency? Is it a low frequency? Is it mid frequency? Is it high frequency? Is it a little bit of everything? Where does this mostly live? And using something like the spectrum analyzer or the EQ8, so you can see it and make the connection between like, okay, I hear something and it sounds like right here. So that's like 150 hertz. That's kind of what that sounds like. That's probably the best place to get started for at least kind of understanding and training yourself to do that. I don't have like perfect pitch or anything like that, so I can't just like hear a note and tell you what note it is, but I can definitely tell you like roughly what kind of frequencies different things will live in, and that just comes from a lot of like practice and experience. Also, just to kind of like mention it, so no, Spectrum can only show one channel at one thing at a time. You could put Spectrum on your master, and then it will do both of them at the same time, but you won't be able to individually identify them. One other thing that I do think is really important to mention, I talk about this a lot when I'm teaching, but I don't think I've mentioned it much on the channel. In fact, this might be a good topic for a video, is that when we're looking at a set of frequencies like this, it's just a piano note, you're going to see a bunch of spikes in volume. The lowest frequency and highest volume spike, this guy right here, actually technically it's this guy down here. This is the fundamental. This determines the pitch of the sound. All of these other spikes are called harmonics, and they determine the timbre of a sound. So they determine like what the instrument sounds like. So you might have a note that's down here, but all of this stuff is still really important. So even though I'm playing this note, which is a D note down here, so 150 hertz, this stuff all still makes a difference. So sounds don't just live in one place, they have like a range of places. And oftentimes you'll see that on the frequency charts here. So in this one, for example, the blue area is the range of the fundamental, and the red area is the range of the harmonics. So the actual notes are going to be in this area, but the extension of all those other frequencies is going to go all the way up here. So that's also, I think, really important for kind of understanding frequencies and kind of the science of sound and how that all works together. Yeah, this guy also, using filters is a great way to kind of understand if you're listening to a sound like this piano and we put a filter before it, use our handy auto filter. I just go like this, we can kind of see how that affects our sound. So again, having the visual representation makes it a lot easier to train your ears and understand what's happening. Yeah, and Kevin's exactly right. So the upper sounds determine the timbre or the texture of the sound, and the lowest fundamental is going to determine the pitch of the sound. All right, so I think I'm all caught up on chat. Hopefully that answers your question. That's a fantastic question, though. I think it does take a lot of time to understand that kind of stuff. So KB Noise was asking about drum grouping. So I guess I'm not quite understanding your question, KB. So you are looking for a template for a drum rack for audio rather than for MIDI, but you still have to have a spot for each drum. Yeah, Kevin knows what's up. He's taking my class. He knows the deal. He's been around. So you're trying to make a drum template for audio, but then are you just trying to like set up like a grouping of tracks for each one of your audio sounds? Is that kind of what you're asking for? And like how you'd set that up? Because if that is, I would, literally just set up a bunch of different tracks. So like this would just be the kick, this would be snare, this would be your like hat, etc. And then just group all those in a group, and then put any drum processing on a group, and then you would just lay in your audio in the arrangement view, like manually one at a time. Which is that sounds like what it is you're trying to do, but I'm not entirely sure if I'm understanding the question. Yeah, KB, if you can help me figure out a little bit more, that'd be super helpful. Or you could be talking about potentially like having a MIDI drum rack and then routing all the audio out for each one of those. That's another thing you could do. Yes, yeah, Roberto, you can totally do that. In fact, that was one of the earliest successful videos I made on the channel for separating drums. But let me just grab an actual drum rack. So if I have a drum kit in here and I got like a drum beat going on. That's not really matter which one I use. So if you want to start extracting individual drum sounds, you can hit this little triangle guy right here. And you'll see all of the individual sounds within your drum rack. And you just right click on it and hit extract chains. And then it'll create an entirely new track for you with that particular drum sound, as well as any MIDI that goes with it. Oops, that's the wrong one. So now this one is just my kick drum, and then this one's still everything else. So you do that one at a time. You can also go in here, oops, and if you open up your chain area, you should be able to just do this one here. Chain area here. You can also right click here and hit extract chains here. Super useful. That's pretty much 99% of the time when I'm writing drums. I start everything in a drum rack, and then once I'm kind of like written my drums pretty fully, I'll extract them out, at least my kick, snare, and hat, onto their own individual tracks. But extracting chains, really, really handy. Yeah, Roberto, as far as I know, you can only do one time. Can you do multiple time? No, you can do multiple ones at a time. You just shift select multiple ones. The only thing to remember about extracting chains, actually no, if you do multiple ones at the same time, it puts them in the same one. So you still do kind of need to do them one at a time. A couple of things you need to remember about extraction chains. Number one, it resets the volume to 0 dB. So if your drum rack is turned down to like -5 dB and you extract the chain, it resets to 0. So just turn it back to where you want it to be. On top of that, any effects that are outside of the drum rack, so if you had like a drum bus out here and you extracted the chains, any sounds that are outside of the drum rack don't go with it. So you'd have to copy and paste those or something like that. So watch out for those two things. Okay, so KB, yeah, you would just have a kick, snare, and hat group here, and then you put any effects on this, and then this group just goes to your master. Hopefully that answers your question. I like all these drum questions. These are great. Keep them coming. So yeah, and then you like, this would be your drum group, and then you have all of your processing on each one of your individual tracks. This one's supposed to be called snare. And then any effects you want to have on here, you put that there. But yeah, I pretty much always write my drums as MIDI and then extract chains as needed. Cool. Any other questions about drums or drum racks while we're here? Appreciate all you guys showing up today. Last week was very lonely. I did some video synthesis pretty much by myself, but I had some fun and had lots of technical issues. Oh yeah, Impulse. I don't think you can, although honestly, I'm gonna double check because I don't want to lie to you about this. I have not honestly used Impulse in quite a while, but I'm pretty sure you can't. No, not as far as I know. But honestly, there's not really a whole lot of good reasons to use Impulse unless you have like a really old version of Live, or maybe if you're using Intro to Live still has, or Live Intro still has drum racks, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I don't really recommend Impulse. It's kind of just a legacy device, and drum racks basically do everything better. Oh man, so many questions. All right, if I miss any of these questions, I'm sorry. I'm just gonna try to keep up with it. Yeah, Impulse only exists still because it was like an earlier version of drum racks before there were drum racks. Drum racks literally do everything better than Impulse. So there's not a whole lot of good reasons to use Impulse if you have access to drum racks. This guy was asking, can you select individual chains to trigger ducking from sidechain compression? Absolutely. So if I have a compressor on one of these tracks and I open up my sidechain and I select a drum rack, So this Abyss kit is a drum rack. In the second drop-down menu, it lists every single sound in that drum rack. So you can pick an individual sound. Not only that, but you can also pick either pre-effects, post-effects, or post-mixer for any one of those sounds. So you can grab it anywhere in the signal flow. So you can grab from all the drums, but pretty much always, not pretty much, most of the time you're going to be sidechaining from the kick, so you could just grab the kick. I usually do post-effects, and that way the volume doesn't change. If I change the volume, if I automate the volume in my kick, I still get the exact same amount of sidechain. But absolutely, another reason drum racks are amazing. So Kevin wants to know about how much clave is enough, and he knows the answer to that. It is definitely never enough clave. And then if I was going to tune a marching snare drum, honestly don't know. Is there a particular order you're supposed to turn the lugs to tune a snare drum? I've never tuned a marching snare drum by myself, or really at all. So that's the trivia question for the day. Yeah, this guy, I've got a few videos on different drum rack features. Drum racks are just amazing. They do everything you could ever want. I see a lot of, especially really young producers, writing their drums by like finding a drum sample, finding a kick drum, and like dragging it in here and be like, okay, here's my kick drum. And then they just like copy and paste things around. And not only does this seem super inefficient, you're also missing out all of the like really amazing features that are built into drum racks that make life super, super easy. So I'm not saying this is the wrong way to write your drums. I'm just saying I don't get it. Like, if you want to, you can always extract your drums and then convert them, freeze them, flatten them, convert them to audio, and then you basically end with the same thing. So if you like this for mixing or doing like weird glitching or whatever, the one cool thing about this is if I wanted to like do glitchy edits, it's like really easy to duplicate things on time here, and you can get like half of the sample in there. So for this kind of glitchy editing, audio is really useful. But again, I can do that later on. I can write my drums with the basic MIDI, freeze it, flatten it, turn to audio, and then do my glitchy edits later in the process. Okay, opposite lugs in rotation to get it even, and then finalize incrementally. That makes sense. Yeah, this is definitely the more labor-intensive way, and I see a lot of people doing this, and I think that's at least some of those people don't realize how many features are built into drum racks that they're missing out on by doing this kind of writing their drums. And I've definitely written drums like this. There's nothing inherently wrong with it, but it seems more labor intensive, and I just love drum racks. Like, I would go so far to say that if Ableton Live did not have drum racks, I probably wouldn't use it. I'd probably use a different software. Like, drum racks are preventing me from ever even caring about any other software just because they're so useful. Sweet. Any other questions about drums or drum racks or anything related to that, or anything not related to that as well? Kevin, how are you feeling? Are you feeling better? Remember you said you were injured, but you never told me if you're like actually okay. So hopefully you're doing all right. Also, since we got a lull in chat, and I think I'm all caught up on questions, if I miss anybody's question, just ask it again. Sometimes it's hard to keep up with what everybody's talking about when I'm ranting about drum racks. Also, on top of that, I think everybody here has already heard, but Sample Pack Song Challenge for the month has started. At the very beginning of the stream, I was saying that I think Sample Pack Song Challenge is not my favorite name. So if you guys want to come up with a cool name for the Sample Pack Song Challenge that is not just Sample Pack Song Challenge, I'm open to suggestions. Right now, it's very literal. But like Team Supreme had, they did it and they have like a super catchy name for it. So I'm open to suggestions on better names than just Sample Pack Song Challenge. Nice. Well, I'm glad you got your second vaccine taken care of. That's awesome. But did you get it yesterday? Oh yeah, the day after is the roughest part. So make sure you take it easy and eat some good food. Yeah, it's a very literal title, but sometimes literal is good. I think it's very straightforward. Also, if anybody out there knows anything about graphic design, I suck at graphic design and I'm doing all my own graphic design. So if anybody wants to teach me how to make my thumbnails and all my graphic design for all of my stuff look better, I am super open to suggestions or advice because I have no idea what I'm doing. If we're going to be totally honest about it. Cool. I'm going to make some weird noises. Yeah, Chapati, thanks for asking. My family is doing pretty well. Everybody's been vaccinated. None of them got COVID. Yeah, they're all doing quite well. But how about you? How's your family doing? Preset names, I think, are hilarious. Morgan, this is my 80s sci-fi soundtrack that I'm writing. The Zaak Pack Challenge, that's so much better. Oh, Kevin, you're brilliant. All right, let's get a little ping pong going on. Is the YouTube streaming in stereo? Can you guys hear that bouncing around? I'm assuming it is. I know Zoom has issues with stereo. All right, cool. It's good to know I don't need to do anything to make it in stereo. I was saying to people who were here at the start of the stream that it feels like the like some like sci-fi thing where some dude's like walking through in like an abandoned warehouse looking for like an alien creature or something. So the auto filter is being automated by the MIDI envelope, which is a MIDI effect that is fantastic. It does basically what you expect it to do. It responds to MIDI notes and then moves this envelope, very similar to the envelope follower or the LFO or Shaper, which are all really fantastic devices. And you can map it to whatever you want. But yeah, that's my 80s sci-fi soundtrack. That was partially suggested by Antone, who was in here earlier. None of you still here. Gentle Air, thanks for popping by. Appreciate it. The MIDI envelope, I mean, I could do a video on it. It's pretty straightforward. It would mostly be just to let people know that it exists. I think a lot of people don't realize that this has been around for a long time and is very, very useful. But basically, like you see it. You can see, hopefully you can see it. There's like a little yellow, or not a little, the little white dot. It moves around whenever I play a MIDI note. And then you just hit this button and you can map it to anything you want. So we could map it to like the volume. Filters still close. Kevin, also, thanks for popping by. Hope you feel a little better. Eat some good food, recover from your shot, and hopefully I'll see you sometime very soon. Maybe even in person sometime. We can figure that out. Yeah, but other than that, you get all the basic, ADSR settings. You have like a velocity to amount, which is really cool. Helps out a lot. And then you can map it to up to 8 parameters at once. So nothing too fancy here. It's one of those like straightforward, does exactly what you think it's going to. It does what it says on the tin, and works really well. Man, everybody's getting dinner time, and now it makes me really want to get dinner. Before people are leaving, download the samples, start working on the sample pack challenge, Zaak pack challenge. I'm also going to be updating the Discord with a separate channel just for the sample pack stuff. So I'll have an additional link to the samples in there, as well as we can talk about it if you have any questions about anything sample pack challenge related. That should be, I was supposed to do it before stream, but I will do it after stream. Well, I'm going to hang out for a bit longer. I'm going to either make some noises and answer some more questions, and I will definitely get dinner fairly soon, within an hour or so. Probably in like half hour. I might even play around with some of the samples. So if you guys want, you can hear some of the samples that I made, and we can take a look at them. And I actually haven't, I made them this morning, and I haven't even had a chance to start playing around with them yet. Good night, everybody who's grabbing dinner. Enjoy your food. Thanks for popping by. If anybody is not going to dinner and wants to hang out a little bit longer, I will be here and you can ask me questions. Otherwise, I'm going to probably make more noises. Get rid of all this stuff. And start building a drum rack. All right, where is my samples? All right, finding the samples. Cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and just build a drum rack out of all these samples. That is not the one I grabbed. There we go. There's my kicks. There's my snares. And here's the hats. I realized I made 4 of all of them. Cool. Wrong track. All right, so if anybody's out there and wants to hit a little preview of what the sample pack contains, this is what I got for the drums. So I got 4 kicks, 4 snares, 4 hats. These are all made with my modular synthesizer using the noise engineering, the Simulus Ateritas Alter, which is just a module that does a lot of different things, but one of the things it does really well is some really cool drums. So here's one of the kicks I made. I got one weird one, one kind of like punchy one, one kind of pitchy one, and one like really distorted one. So I got some interesting choices here with drums. I kind of like. Might have to combine those two together. And then what we got for snares? I'll use that one. Kind of like that one. Let's go ahead and start that one. I'm not entirely sure what tempo I want to be at. Chat, if you have any opinions about what tempo my sample pack song challenge should be, because I'm also going to make a song with the sample pack. I recorded these at 90 BPM. I'm thinking like 100 or so. Or actually, what I probably would rather do is just do a little bit of capture and see what happens. The timing is a little off there, but that's kind of what I want. Cool, Chapati. Well, as long as you eat some food sometime, you're welcome to hang out here as long as you want. All right, I feel like that's kind of close. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I'm thinking kind of with this guy, that guy on this 90 to 100 maybe. This is saying 82, which feels a little slow for what I played. Let's see if this can work. My timing was definitely off though. Yeah, my timing's definitely off. Let me do it again. Nice, that sounds great. Some cheese, a little Ableton. What's up, Royal Dragon? How's it going? Welcome to the stream. This is really hard to do with my computer keyboard. My push got unplugged because I needed the MIDI ports for something else, and I'm not used to playing on my computer keyboard to get this kind of rhythm. There's like a weird kind of latency to it that I'm not used to. All right, let's see if that gets a little closer. Oops, that's weird. All right. Why is my one not lining up with that guy? This is being very strange. What is going on here? Oh my God, there it is. There we go. That's more what I'm looking for. 86 BPM. Oh no, it's off still. This is a weird beat. Why did I write it like this? I might have to come back to this idea. Yeah, Morgan, I'm too. It's the kind of thing that I've asked a bunch of people in the community about, and everybody was like, this is the thing. This is the thing I really want in my life right now. And I was like, okay, cool. We'll try it out and see how it goes. So this is my first time making a sample pack for other people. Like I've made samples for like friends and kind of shared them amongst people, but like first time I've kind of like made a pack and shared it publicly. I hope there's enough variety to it. There's like a bunch of different sounds in there. But I think if people are creative, they can do lots of stuff with it. All right, I might do something like that for right now. Why is all the beats I'm writing in such like a strange time frame? I don't know if I like that. I'm getting too experimental here. Let's keep this real simple. We're gonna do a little just boom, clap, boom, clap. That's gonna be the first one. And let's get some 16 notes in here. Let's randomize those guys a little bit. We might have to should I use the really beefy one? Let's see what happens here. All right, that's like a beefy kick. I might need to filter that a little bit. It's a little bit too much where it's at. Just do the filter in simpler. I don't use this very often. And do a little bit of filter envelope. Why is that sounding weird? Let's just do a volume envelope, I guess. All right, and let's make this longer than just one bar. This is a little too boring there. Not that one. Duplicate loop. Sounds all right. I think the distorted one's a little bit too much, so we got to tone this guy down a little bit more. And our snare needs love. It needs a lot of love. So we're going to compress that guy, do a little bit of like, let's do a little high rate on him. way less of that. Let's just do the convolution, not the convolution, the algorithm. Cool. I think that's close enough right now. I think it needs a lot of work, but that at least gets me a beat going. What other samples do I have in here? Where did my samples go? And if anybody's out there and is just hanging out, feel free to ask any questions you may have about music production or whatever. Right now I'm just kind of screwing around doing some sample messing around with. Yeah, so I didn't do a whole lot so far. I literally just took one of the kicks and then layered it with another one of the kicks. This one's the more the kind of like punchy one, which I also might fade it out a little bit. Another thing we could do here is it doesn't have a lot of impact to it quite yet. So I might also like crank up the pitch envelope a little bit. This is really useful on the start of drums, especially synthetic drums like this. I'll just solo just this. And it gives it a little bit more of that kind of like punchy sound. Like that. And I'm also going to toss a saturator on both of them because saturator makes everything better. Yeah, that's better. Cool. So now my punchy one sounds a little bit more punchy. And this one I think does need to be filtered a little bit. Like I like the distortion, but I need to make sure I leave room for my actual bass sound, which is probably going to sound fairly similar to this. So I want to get some of that low end in there, but I don't want to like get too much of those mids and high frequencies. So I'm going to turn the filter back on here. Yeah, that way I get some of the like tone and character of this one, but it's not like that, which I think sounds really dope. And I might even, if I like don't end up going super over the top with my bass line, I might use that as part of like the intensity of my bass line. But for right now, I'm only focusing on drums, so I want to make sure the drums sound kind of the way I want. So in this case, I'm getting kind of the best of both worlds between these guys. I thought about turning on the envelope here, so this will make the filter frequency go up and back down real quick. But the curve on it is kind of weird, and so I'm not really into that. So even though I don't go up all the way. That could work, I think. That actually works pretty well. Give it a little bit more tail here. Okay, so that we got this one doing its job, being kind of like gritty, lower one. This one being the punchy one. There's still a little bit too much character there. I don't want to go quite as heavy with it. That works for right now. I might need a little bit refining, maybe a little EQing there, but we got a kick sounding decent. The snare, I think sounded okay by itself. I just tossed a little bit of hybrid reverb on it, only using the algorithmic side, just because I was feeling lazy and the convolution sounds really good, but it takes a minute to like get it to sound the way I want and tends to be a little bit too heavy-handed. So in this situation, just using the algorithm, turn the decay time down, turn the dry wet down. That helps give it a little bit more of like a tail. And then just crank it through the compressor, give it a little bit of attack. A lot of times with my snare, somewhere between 10 and 20 milliseconds of attack is kind of what I want. And then I just turn the threshold down and turn the makeup on. Sounds okay. I'm not in love with it, but it's good enough to work with. I might end up layering it with one of these other sounds. Maybe that one. No, probably not that one. This is just like a weird one I tossed in here. So if I want to layer this, if you hold down the command key as you drag it from one to the other, you get both at the same time. It gives it a nice little bit of like punch, and you can really hear that reverb in there, and I think that works pretty well. Again, I might tweak that. I might make it sound a little weirder. It depends on what direction I want to go for, but as like just a basic generic starting point for building a drum rack for starting a song that I don't actually know what it's going to sound like yet, it's good enough. And then I'm only using this hi-hat. I got a few other ones. I got some weird ones. But it's like a nice kind of close hi-hat. Haven't done any processing on this yet. The only thing I've really done with the hi-hat is gone into the pattern here and turn the velocity down and then randomize the velocity. So this randomize velocity button is really, really handy. And that way it's not always the exact same thing. And that alone already makes it sound a lot more interesting. Let's see what happens if we turn this one off. So I need a little bit less. Dialing in this other kick's gonna be kind of annoying. I think that's okay. Like that's roughly enough to get the job done, at least for getting started with the drums. I'll probably change up a lot of this stuff, but at this point, I'm just trying to get everything sounding decent. So generally when I'm producing, Chapathy, just to mention about my master going in the red, usually I'm producing at around -12 decibels, so I'm usually down here. However, just because of the way the streaming is and the like complex audio inputs and outputs I have to do to make sure that I can hear what I'm doing and you guys can hear what I'm doing and everything sounds good, I generally like it a little bit louder. Honestly, if you're just like going a little bit in the red, it's not gonna make a difference. Obviously, if you're like spending all your time with everything in the red, then that's definitely a problem. But for right now, for the purposes of just messing around and making music, I'm not gonna be stressing about if I'm clipping or not. It's not a huge deal. Like it's not gonna affect the end result in any real way. But that being said, usually when I'm producing down here where I have like 12 decibels of headroom. But for the purpose of hearing it right now, I'm gonna keep it a little bit louder. Generally what I recommend for people is when it comes to like headroom and producing, is that it's much better to turn up the volume on your headphones or your speakers than it is to crank the volume inside of Live. And that's usually, it'll make it much easier to hear what's going on. But again, because I've got this weird audio routing setup, I don't want to screw with it while I'm streaming and make it and have to deal with like, is it too loud for you or is it too quiet for me or all that kind of stuff. Yeah, well, usually I'm not in the red when I'm mixing when I'm using my own production template because everything starts at -12. So just default, I have plenty of headroom. But when you're producing, clipping doesn't matter because when you're mixing, you're going to reset everything and you're going to reset everything and kind of start from scratch again when it comes to volumes. So I'll do like kind of rough sketch mixes as I go, a very little bit, but I'm not going to spend more than like 2 minutes doing mixing when I'm producing. So Chapathy, each one of my tracks starts at -12. So like when I hit Command T and it makes a new audio track for me, it defaults to being at -12. So all my tracks start at -12. And that's just the easiest way to keep it roughly at -12. Like sometimes it'll go by -12, sometimes it'll be below, but having everything starting at -12 is really, really helpful. Same thing when I make a new MIDI track, it also starts at -12 dB, which you can do by just setting the volume to -12 dB or whatever volume you want, right-clicking and hitting Save as Default MIDI Track, or save as default audio track. Those are two different things. Cool, yeah, but this will be okay for right now. So let's see what other samples I made and see if there's anything we want to play around with. So I divided them into one-shots and loops. And I'm just going to go ahead and toss these in here. These are all the bass lines that I made. And hopefully they're cool. They were cool when I made them this morning. These are a bunch of the melody sounds that I made. These are some of the spacey sounds I made. And there's a few other things. There's also some atmospheric one-shots that I made. So this is all the samples in the sample pack, besides the ones in the drum rack, which are obviously also in there. So let's start. I'll just try to test them out and see how they go. That sounds weird. Why does that sound weird? Okay. Kind of like that one the best so far. That's kind of cool. This one sounds off. I don't know what's going on with this one. Oh, it's at 96. I'm pretty sure this is supposed to be at 90. Weird. Well, this is why you proofread your samples that you make. Let's see if this sounds better. So that one works. And then this one is also supposed to be at 90. I'm not sure why it started weird like that. So I might have to put some notes in there. This one also sounds strange. What is going on here? This one I think needs to be fixed. This one is not the way it's supposed to be when I bounce that out. So I'll have to play around with that one, but that one's easily fixed. All right, I think it's between these two. I think I like these two the best for a starting point. Weird. I feel like I cropped these the timing correctly, and then it's being weird about how it bounced them. I had a really weird little audio drop out there. Let me make sure my mic is still working. Cool. Seems like it's still working. Cool. So we got a bass line, we got a drum beat. And if I'm going to do some audio processing here, I might actually find I might have an easier time in the arrangement view. And you always have to reverse things just to see what they sound like. So I feel like anytime you're going to do like a sample pack challenge, most of the fun is just trying to make whatever samples you're starting with, whatever kind of ideas you're given, and reinvent them, like make them sound totally different and totally weird. So even though I like this as just like a starting point for a baseline, I might just see how far I can push it and see where I can go with it and make it sound like something that it did not start out like. For example, like pitching things up and down is really fun just to see what happens. That could be kind of cool. Maybe if I don't. Sounding pretty decent. I feel like we can work with that. So here I just played around with some of the timings using beats mode, specifically in the no loop mode part of beats mode, which is the arrow with the line on it, which means it's going to play as far as it can and then it's going to stop. So right now every quarter note it's playing and then it's only going about 82% of the way and then it's fading out, which makes it sound choppy, or I can make it really choppy. So every quarter note we're getting a little chop, or like every eighth note. also pitching it up. Kind of like that. That can work for me. A little bit of chorus. I had some distortion, but I turned it off. And then a little bit of delay. Like a little better there, 16-note delay. And a little bit of reverb, which honestly I could live without. I don't think we need this. Maybe a little bit. I'm also going to have a version that's going to be 16 notes. Let's see what this happens. So between these two, I got like a cool, interesting little melodic part. So we got a little variation there. So yeah, so I think if you're going to be doing like a sample pack challenge like this, the things you're given are just the starting point. Like this is what it originally sounded like without the effects on it. So you can take something like this, and then of course now we can layer this. So let's make a new audio track. Let's take the bass line, put it over here. And we can now layer this with our now melodic part that was once the bass part. So now these two sounds are relevant to each other because they're playing the same notes and started off as the same, but now one has totally different effects, different pitch, all kinds of different stuff going on. So you can make the two kind of work together by layering them if you want, or we could go back in and we could find a different one and see how that sounds. So maybe we'll just take all these guys and move them over. That'd be kind of cool. What am I looking for? A filter. Now things are getting a little loud, so I'm going to turn these down a bit. I want to do some interesting filter stuff here, but the auto filter feels a little basic for what I actually want to be going for. So I think I'm going to come back to that. Actually, let's play with the envelope real quick. Nah, I think we're gonna come back to the filter. I want this bass to be filtered, but I want to do it in like a very specific way, so I might hold off on that. Anybody still out there in chat? Maybe. let's go into melody parts and see what happens. So this actually fits really well with what I have already going on. So we're gonna have to really tweak this to make. All right, so the mic died on me, which happens every stream, at least one time, but I think it should be back now. I'll give it a second just to make sure. And that's also coincidentally right around the time I normally end stream anyway. So I'm gonna keep playing around with these samples and try to come up with a song just like I encourage you guys to. If you are just joining us for whatever reason, and you want to know what the sample pack song challenge that's listed in the title of the stream is all about, I just released another video called Sample Pack Song Challenge, where we're going to be running a song challenge. I just made a bunch of samples. I want you guys to use them, make a track, send it back to me. All that info is available in that other video, as well as in the Discord. There's going to be a bunch of info about all this kind of stuff. It seems like a bunch of people are already really excited about it. So join us, make a song with the samples, and then send it back to me. June 25th is when they're due, and live on stream, I'm going to go through all the songs, talk about them, give them feedback, see what people are into, see what people are up to, and it should be a lot of fun. So I think that's going to be it for tonight. Thank you to everybody who did join us. We had an awesome stream. Tons of people showed up. Really excited about it. A lot of the regulars. So stoked to see so many people who keep coming back. This is really, really cool. This is one of my favorite things I do all week long. But that's it for tonight. I'm going to get some dinner. Take care of yourself. Make some music. Do some cool stuff with your life. And then come back, and I'll see you on Friday. I am just doing just a regular song feedback stream this Friday. So if you have a track you are working on and you want to get some thoughts on it, you want to get an extra pair of ears on it, that will be happening on Friday. And if you want to get more info about that, you can check out, again, the Discord is where a lot of the info is going to be. So have a good night, everyone. Be well, and I will hopefully see you on Friday, not sometime else. Peace.